Because when you align what God gave you with what his heart is calling you to do, it works. It succeeds according to kingdom success. You may only make a difference to one person, but what if that one person starts a worldwide revival? Like, we don't know. We may look at our success here as not so great, but we don't know what the Lord is going to do with it. And we have to trust God with the success and with the outcome. Hey there. Are you a Christian woman who's ready to strengthen your faith and stop the madness in your mind? The worry, doubt, anxiety. Do you want something more for your life but are not sure where to even begin? You've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Kristin Campbell. I'm excited that you're here as we journey together to discover mindset renewal and empowered faith for the Christian woman. Hi, thank you for joining me today. Did you know that Jesus doesn't require us to be successful with the gifts or talents that he's given us? He requires us to be faithful with them, to do something, to take the step towards the dream he gave us. Action is part of the faith process. James 2 says that faith without works is useless. Faith needs actions. And many of us are not taking action on what God's calling us to do. And I want to explore a couple of reasons why and how to get into action. Let's start by looking at the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. And I'm going to summarize this and paraphrase along the way. But please look it up, go through, and really just dig a little bit deeper afterwards. So there's this man, this master of the house, and it represents the Lord. And he's going away, and he gives each of his servants, us, a certain number of talents, and it says each according to their ability to govern while he's away. So the one who was given 5 talents ended up making 5 more. The one who was given 2 talents ended up making 2 more. And the one who was given 1 talent did nothing. He actually buried it in the ground. He hid it. So the master comes back and praises the servants who did something with what they were given. And what's interesting is he doesn't point out their success. So he doesn't say, wow, you made 5 on 5. That's a great return on investment. Ooh, you made 2 from the 2. I mean, wow, gold star for you. He speaks instead to their faithfulness. And this is what he says to each of them. Well done, good and faithful servant. Not successful. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little, and now I will set you over more. Enter into the joy of your master. Wow. Yet, as you read along, he has a very, very different response to the servant who did nothing, calling him wicked and saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, listen, at the very least, you could have put it in the bank, so I collected interest. And the scariest part, at least for me, it's not just that talent was taken away, but that servant was cast off into utter darkness. Listen, this is serious. God has given each of us gifts, talents, each according to our own abilities. And if you notice, the one with the 5 talents and the one with the 2, they received the exact same praise and the same invitation into the master's joy. There was no difference in the reward that they received. So Number one, there is no need to compare ourselves to other people. Because it's not about the number of gifts. It's not about the types of talent. Each one of us are given gifts that are unique to us, to our calling, to our plan, to our design, and they are absolutely special for us. It's not about the gift. It's not about the talent. It's about the action. And how often do we bury a gifting that God has given us because it doesn't look like Susie Q's on Insta? Or it's really, really nothing compared to that woman at church that everyone gravitates to. Or the coworker who, seems to be crushing the sales and always getting the promotion. It's not supposed to. Your gifts fit your life. And if you are like that servant who is hiding them, that just sends off a big red flag to me. Because listen to what it actually is telling me. The reason the servant in the parable hid the one talent he was given is because he thought his master to be a hard man and he was afraid. He saw his master in a negative light and lived in fear. And the hard, painful truth, brace yourself here. Listen, I love you. I have been here. I've had to learn this, and it's going to be okay. The hard, painful truth is when we don't accept the giftings God gave us as good, it is because we do not see God as good. Whew. That may need to sink in. I know it's hard to hear, and I really invite you to sit with that for a minute, to search your heart. Do you believe God is good in all he does, in all he plans, in all he creates, including you? Do you truly believe God was operating in goodness when he created you? If so, you can accept yourself, all of you, as foundationally good. Listen, when he created you, he took everything into consideration. Your body frame, your freckles, your hair, your smile. He took into consideration your personality, all your quirks, your laugh, your likes, your dislikes, all of it he calls good. And all of it has a part to play in your purpose, your God-designed role. I invite you to allow his goodness, his perfect love to cast out that fear so you can embrace the you that God calls good. A second reason that we often bury our gifts is because we don't feel they will result in anything successful. We don't think people will celebrate us or buy what we're selling or listen to what we offer. And so often we measure the value of our talents based on some perceived return on investment. My business coach calls some of these things vanity metrics. How many followers we have, how many likes, how many DMs, did it go viral, how many views? Or sometimes we base our value on the amount of money we make, or the tickets we sell, or the purses, or the shoes, or the cars, or the houses. Man, our definition of success is very far from the Lord's. God is not so concerned with us hitting the top of charts or being internet sensations or, being on magazine covers. He's concerned for his people who are lost and hurting. And I want us to really look at this in a different light. I want us to look at another powerful and familiar story. It's the story of the 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And I hope to bring a little bit of a different perspective on this. It's found in John 6. Because I love this story. I love how Jesus sets the situation up, because he's still kind of setting us up today, if we're paying attention. So again, I'm going to paraphrase. I just encourage you to get into the word. But Jesus sees that a great crowd of people were following him. And his concern was not to take a census, not to, count how many people were there to just kind of gauge his popularity. His concern was that they needed to be fed. His mission was to care for and to serve them. And the scriptures say that knowing that he was going to feed them with a miracle, he still asked his disciples a question. And it says it's to test their faith. And what he asks is, where shall we buy bread for these people to eat? Now, I can only imagine what they were thinking. And if you read the story, Philip's response gives us a little bit of a glimpse into what was going on in their minds. So Philip responds, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically says, we don't nearly have enough money to make this happen. Does that sound familiar? How often do we pose that same excuse to God? Jesus points out a need to us, and we look around and we think, not going to happen. I got nothing. Right? Going on, Andrew shows up, and he, again, I'm paraphrasing, but he says basically, well, here's a boy with 5 small loaves and 2 small fishes. I mean, you can have it. And he says, but how far will that go with so many people? And again, we use the same reasoning. That lack mentality, that scarcity mindset. Well, I don't know, Lord. I only have this little bit. Like, what can you do with it? What difference is this really going to make? Yet, Jesus steps in, performs his miracle, feeds over 5,000 people with leftovers. And it's all because they gave what little they had. And honestly, if you really look at the text, it appears to be with the smallest amount of faith. I mean, he says, I don't really know how far this is going to go. It is the smallest amount of faith, but it's an action of faith nonetheless. And the key to take away here is that Jesus was asking, and still asks, will you take the little you have and align it with the mission of my heart and step into action? Because when you align what God gave you with what his heart is calling you to do, it works. It succeeds according to kingdom success. You may only make a difference to one person, but what if that one person starts a worldwide revival? Like, we don't know. We may look at our success here as not so great, but we don't know what the Lord is going to do with it. And we have to trust God with the success and with the outcome. So here's what I'm inviting you to do. First and foremost, settle the matter in your heart on whether or not you believe God is good all the time, even in creating you as he did. And this can be hard. This may take time. I encourage you, find a trusted Christian friend, a pastor, a life coach to process this through if you need that support. But foundationally, you need to be solid on the goodness of God in creating you, on the goodness of his life's plan for you. It's foundational. Next, I'd like you to write out all your gifts, all your talents, your quirks, all that wonderful you-ness that's you. And I invite you to write it out so it's in your face on paper so you can read it again and again. And this might be hard. It probably will be hard, and you may need support again. But it's so important that you remind yourself that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, not in like a pride sense, but in just standing on the truth, again, of God's goodness in creating you. And as you write it out on paper, leave space to add to it, because you are still becoming. We are all works in progress. We are all going from glory to glory. And I want you to be able to add to that list as God continues to shape you and mold you. Thirdly, I'd love for you to ask the Lord what he's calling you to do. Again, this is going to be a writing, and I would love for you just to get still and have it be a free write, not to judge it. Just write it out, whatever it is. You can always bring it back before the Lord later for him to refine, but allow the Lord to dream with you. Just removing any limitations, just receiving his vision for you. Just ask him, what's your heart for my life? And it may take a few times of sitting with the Lord, of being still before him, but he will show you. And finally, when you have all of this going, ask the Lord, what's my next step? What's that step of faith that I need to take now? And it doesn't need to be huge. Very often it's small. It may still take you out of your comfort zone. Just trust him. Trust him in the process. Remember, he is good in his leading. So as you develop this walk in your life, I pray that you enter the joy of the Lord. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. I hope you walked away a little stronger in your faith and freer in your mind. You are so loved. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. Leave your ratings and reviews, and engage with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you.